everyone, and welcome to today's webinar using Chrome DevTools Recorder panel to record user flows. My name is Abigail Kurtzman, and I'm a product marketing manager here at Sauce Labs. So joining me today are two industry leaders bringing a wealth of expertise and experience to this conversation, Jecelyn Yeen and Kunal Jain. Jecelyn is a developer advocate at Google working on Chrome DevTools. Her work focuses on the developer tooling ecosystem. And we also have Kunal, who is the director of product development here at Sauce Labs. He currently works on our sauce control product line, as well as assets with our sauce visual product. So please join me in welcoming Jecelyn and Kunal for today's conversation about the Chrome DevTools Recorder.
So in Chrome, we did some research to understand what are the developer pain points. And one of the things that developer told us over and over again is the end-to-end testing is a pain. And to talk about end-to-end tests, there are two sections of end-to-end tests. The first one is to automate the user flow. For example, you want to automate adding item to the cart, fill in the shipment detail. The second part of the end-to-end testing is to be able to assert the detail to check if your code logic is correct, if the calculation is correct, if some of the validation show on the screen. So today, the talk will focus on to talk about automate the user flow using the DevTools Recorder, and we'll talk about the assert details a bit later and why we are not, I will tell you why we are not covering this time, because we already have a lot to cover for the automate the user flow. Okay, to automate the user flow is actually not easy because it sounds easy that you click and then we capture it, but for you to start, you might need to have a huge amount of setup, and that's not usually the fun part to do. With the Chrome DevTools Recorder, you sort of take away your setup step and let you to start record your workflow, start automate it right away. So these features is currently in developer preview. You can use it to record, replay, and also measure the performance of your user flow. Let me show you the demo. Okay, so this is a coffee app. So you can click and add the coffee into a cart, and then you can go to the cart to view the total, add some item, or you can just click on the total button to open up the checkout page, type in your email address and your name, and probably there will be a checkbox somewhere, and then once you submit, it would just tell you thanks for your purchase and send you an email. Okay, so this is the flow that we are going to automate for today. So in here, I have the recorder panel open. If you haven't opened it before, it will be under the three dot, more tools, recorder. You can find it here. So once you open it, you can click on start recording and then give your recording a name. Let's say order a coffee. And then start the recording. And once you start, you can see that it shows you that it's currently in the recording state. So what we can do here is we perform the action that we want to do. For example, now I scroll down. I click on mocha because I think I like to drink mocha. And then I scroll down again to order Americano. So once I click these two items, you can see that the recorder actually captured each of these click as an input. And then we click again in the total button and let's type in my name. And then click on the email again. And click on the button and click submit. So once we record the whole user flow, we can click stop to stop recording. And then from here, you can expand each of the steps or you can edit the step. So for example, if I click on the click mocha, the mocha element, you can see that the type is a click. DevTools actually support more type. We have double click, hover, change, and navigate step. But now in this case, I will just use the click step for now. And by default, it will detect two selector that is find the most unique one that can identify your element. So in this case, we detect that ARIA mocha and data test mocha is the most unique selector for your Mocha element. So that's why it detects that. But let's say halfway here, you realize that, oh, the one that you want to order is actually not Mocha, but you want to order cappuccino. So what you can do here, you can edit the selector to put in cappuccino, or the easiest way is to use the selector picker here. This selector picker here, just click on it and select Mocha. Oh, let me click on it and select Mocha. And it will update the selector to Mocha. Instead of you typing it, you can use the selector picker to repick your selector, which is very convenient. And let's say if you forget, probably you want to order 3 coffee instead of 2 coffee, you can click on this 3 dot here, add a step after or add a step before, and then expand it, change the type to click, and do the same thing, pick on probably flat white here to order it. And the same thing you can do, you can still replay the step. And instead of 2 coffee, is order 3 coffee now. Okay, so this is the basic of automating it. Let me go back to my, so that's a really quick demo to show you what you can do. And oh, one more thing that I want to show is to measure the performance. There are 2 ways you can measure the performance. For example, you can replay this workflow and measure the performance in the performance panel or the performance insight panel. Let me just click on the performance insight panel. It will replay the flow and then open it with the performance insight panel. From here, you can see if your page performance, your user flow performance have any issues. In this case, there's no issues here. But if you want to see like the layout shift, or if your page have any janky or delays, it will show up here. So it's very convenient for you if you want to constantly trace your performance. Okay. So that's cool. We have a quick demo to record it, but we receive a lot of, so we have a send feedback button here, and we receive a lot of feedback on the features that you wish to see next. So the top 6 feature requests since we released this feature that we receive is you are asking if you are able to set a longer timeout for each of the steps. For example, there might be some slow network request API that you need to call. You might need to wait probably 6 seconds or 7 seconds or longer. And then you also mentioned that you want to specify your own custom selector. So just now, the selector picker will just pick on the selector that DevTools think is most unique, but probably you have some custom selector that your team is using. So can you specify that? And another features that we hear a lot is, can we able to share the user flow with peers easily? For example, I can export a file and someone just re-import it in DevTools and you can replay it. So the number 4 feature is you would like to be able to replay the recording at a slower speed. Like just now when I click replay, right, it's just replay everything. Probably you can't see it clearly. So sometimes you might want to observe step by step. And the last request, the top 6 requests that we receive is you want to be able to control the replay. For example, to be able to execute step by step to see the action on screen. The good news is we have developed all these 6 features in Chrome DevTools. So you can actually use that today. Oh, sorry, one more is to be able to support hover, right click and double click, because hover, right click and double click wasn't support during our launch. I will show you a demo later. So to set a longer timeout, there are 2 ways for you to set it. You can set a longer timeout at the replay setting at the top of the recorder. If you set it, this is a global setting that applies to all the steps. If you want to set like increase the timeout for a specific step, you can expand the step and click on add timeout to change the timeout setting for a specific step. So 5,000 means 5,000 milliseconds, which is 5 seconds. The second feature is to auto detect the common test selector. So just now in our demo, you see that we auto detect, so there are some common selector that we see developers are using. For example, data-test ID, -test, -QA, and -CY. So these are the common selector that we will automatically detect. If you define that in your HTML, we'll just pick that out. So you don't need to configure that. That's out of the box. But if you have some custom selector that you want to put, during the start of the recording, you can, in the selector attribute, you can put in that. For example, in this case, I put in data-automation here because my test is using data-automation. You can just put in and click start recording. And during the record, if DevTools found data-automation, it will just use that as the first selector to pick. The next feature here, this is the demo on how it works. Okay, so the next one here, now you are able to export the file as a JSON, as a Puppeteer Replay script, or as a Puppeteer script. So this feature is useful because later on, someone can re-import the JSON and replay it in DevTools. Let me show you this real quick. Here. Okay, let's go back to my recorder here. So let me just download the file. I export it as a JSON file. Order J2. So I save it. And now I can just delete it. I have no worries because I can import it myself at some point of time as well. So in case I share this with a friend or with my colleague, they can also do the same thing. Click on the import button and click on order a coffee. And you see that all the steps is still here and I can still replay it successfully. And if you think of it, this feature could be very useful for bug reporting. Imagine you can ask your user to open the DevTools and record their step, and then later you can import it and replay it to see what happens on the user screen. And a lot of you complain, even myself, complain to the team that the replays is just too fast. Sometimes we just want to slow down it a lot. So what we do here in the replay, in the drop down, you can select the normal speed, you can replay at a slow speed, very slow, and extremely slow. Let me just show you very slow. So here, if I click on very slow here, you can see that it click on the flat white, proceed to the checkout, and it change input, check. So it's slightly slower than the first time when you see it. And you can go to extremely slow, but extremely slow is really slow. So I don't want to show you now, but you can try it yourself. It's already available in the latest Chrome, So go try it out and let me know if the speed feel right. And still not enough. We still receive feedback that you want to give me the control. I don't want to be extremely slow. I sometimes, for some of the step, I just want to skip. For some of the step, I just want to replay it. So a good news for you is now you are able to set a breakpoint and replay until the step that you want, and then replay step by step. What does it means is that, oh, sorry, let me open my. So let's say I put a stop point here, flat white, and then I click, let me just go back to a normal speed. So I replay, then you see that the replay will stop at this step. And from here, you can see that the cappuccino element just now was clicked. So it was in a hover state just now. Now, what I can do is I can execute one step. So when I click execute one step, it will click on the flat white item. And you see that the card now is 2. I execute another step by clicking that. And you see that the card is now 3 items because it's clicked on the Americano. Now the next step is proceed to checkout. I can just click on it again and it opened up the form. So this way you can control the flow, whichever fast, whichever slow you want. And the good news is you can set multiple breakpoint. So you might want to set the breakpoint at the click on promotion page. What you can do here, you set a breakpoint and then you just resume the user flow. It will just play all the way until the next breakpoint that you set. If you don't want the breakpoint, just remove it or cancel the replay, or you can just resume it. So very easy for you, a good way for you to visualize your user flow step by step and debug to see if the user flow works for you. Okay, then the next thing is we now support double click and right click and hover. Let me show you a demo here. So in this card, let me start, just give it a name, demo card. Okay, in this card, what I can do is I can hover to it. It will show a word hover here, and I can right click to it, click on an action, and then I can double click to zoom in and zoom out. Okay, so I stop the recording. From here, you can see that the double click and the double click step is very obvious. It captured the double click here, but the step that we click right click just now is not that obvious. It's shown as a click because it's right click is still a click. So if you want to say the step is a right click, we use the button secondary to differentiate it. So this is a right click. And do you notice that the hover step is actually not captured? So the hover step is a bit tricky because if you think of it, when your mouse hover to your pages, basically you are hovering on everything, and it's very hard for DevTools, for the recorder to detect which are the element you are actually hovered and you are actually care about the value. So, but no worries, what you can do here is you can add a manual step. So for example, I can click on this 3 dot here, I click add a step after, and then I change this step to hover. And then same, I use the selector picker to pick on the element to say that it's hover. So I hover on the demo card element. And if what you want to assert, so in this case, let's say I want to assert that the hovered element actually show up on the screen, like this element when I hover. So what I can do is I can add another step after this and say, wait for the element and wait for the hovered element. Now, this is the tricky part. You cannot, this is because you cannot use the selector picker to pick on the hovered element because it's try. Oh, yes, you can. But in some of the element, like a menu item, you actually can't do it because your mouse probably in a different place. So what you can do is you can go to the elements panel here and use the hover state, toggle the item to the hover state. Let me show you this. Toggle the item to hover state, so it's constantly there. Then you can use the selector picker to pick it. So that's the other way that you can pick an element if you are not able to hover and select it. Okay, so now if we replay the user flow in an extremely slow pace, you see that it's hovered to the element, assert that the element is showing up, and then go to double click and double click again to zoom out. Okay, so that's the extremely slow replay. Okay, well, okay, so now we have shown you almost all the features in the Chrome DevTools Recorder. That's great, so you can automate your user flow. But how about to automate the execution of it? Probably you want to schedule it, you want to run in a different browser, different versions of browser. For example, now you want to test in an older browser. How you can do it? Let me introduce Kunal. So Kunal from Sauce Lab will talk about how you can do it, automate that with Sauce Lab.
Thank you so much, Jecelyn. Like, super helpful and amazing to see like how many things you can do with the recorder in itself, that you can add so many weights and it makes it easy for you to select things. So super helpful. So, I can share screen, Jecelyn. I think you need to stop the share and pick it up.
Yes.
Thank you. Leave folks can. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. Start sharing. Cool. So yeah, we'll just quickly go over a bit around Sauce and where we are seeing the market dynamics, and we'll jump into the demo like as Jecelyn was showing. So from a market dynamics perspective, what we are seeing is that the release velocity is increasing. This should not be new to folks. Like all the teams are moving faster. That's why you need tools like Chrome DevTools where you can quickly record and replay and test your applications. Testing is shifting left and right. So that's another dynamics which we have seen where different personas are kicking in, not just the QAs, but devs, product managers, designers, everyone is trying to test and try out different things so they can release their software just with confidence. More and more businesses are running things like feature flags, canary builds to release in production, and that's where it requires additional need to do post-production tests. So what are we seeing? Like we are seeing this sort of create two market dynamics. And in case of intent, we are seeing teams are going deeper, where they are trying to automate all possible scenarios to get the confidence that they're releasing the right software. And in terms of the behavior changes, we are seeing that teams are embracing products which are helping with crash reporting and rollbacks. So if there are any crashes in production, they can quickly go back and revert, or they can roll forward, like they can just fix it and push forward. Again, like this should not be new to you folks. Like most of the folks on this webinar should have seen this. Like it's hard to ship quality at speed. There are so many tools across the board. This is just shows you different phases in dev, in test, in production, and all the things like the teams have to do to get going. The other challenge it creates is there are too many signals. You get signals from all these different tools, and it gets really hard for teams to manage how they can sort of provide that overview and get that overview across these different signals. So how does Sauce help? So Sauce, we're trying to bring these signals together, starting from the early dev phase where we have products like API testing, we have product like visual testing, then moving into more of the integration phase where we have products like low code, autonomic, which is a low code testing product, having mobile beta testing product with TestFairy, and even like mobile app distribution at scale. So it's like all these different features which sort of are products which combine during the your integration phase. Eventually in the production side, as I was talking about, tools like Backtrace for error reporting, where you can monitor your applications and basically see how things are happening once you deploy it to production. So let's dig in. I think the area of focus today is test automation. Like how do we run the tests which we just saw using the Chrome Dev Recorder and sort of try it on Sauce. So let's dig into that. So again, like quality shifting left should not be news to folks. Like everyone knows that more and more dev teams are using tools which are sort of right up their alley, like using tools what Jecelyn just showed, or like things around unit testing, component testing, functional testing. Especially we want to talk about the challenges that these teams are facing when the quality is shifting left. Developers are assuming more responsibility for quality of code. They do so by knowing the potential to accelerate the release cycles and improving in productivity and overall allowing them to create a better experience. You all have experienced that there is explosion of tools. And again, I'll bring more tools in and you can see that there's a need for infrastructure. There's need for like you to understand the test runners, how these runners are working. It's becoming increasingly crowded. All this is born from the fact that developers have their own needs and they want to ensure that there's quality without slowing down any of these processes. Let's jump in. Here's another one which I'll bring. So it's a really interesting survey done by Mozilla. And you folks can go in and check it out on their website. They basically surveyed a bunch of engineers and developers, and they basically wanted to know how and what the problems are. So this sort of showcases like the challenges which these teams are facing. So so they take it one step further. They list the specific needs of the developers, which you can see here. And you can see the number of those relate to testing. There's a lot of problem in the testing areas. These concerns are around lack of automation, struggle with creating reliable tests. It's like frustration with the limited option to integrate in their existing processes. Those are the things that rank pretty high. From a developer standpoint, they also want to test in the languages they prefer. They want to combine the tools, which they already have, and they want to execute them reliably in the environments which they prefer. Beyond that, the engineering managers and the other folks, other leaders on the team, they want to understand that there are no tests are living in vacuum. So they're not just happening on the side, but happening on the main production lines. And they want to unify those signals coming back. So how does this look? Again, it just shows you a timeline of how this looks across the board how it looks across the board. Oops, exit, go back. Okay. So this just shows you across the board how these tools look, where Selenium was born. After that, like you see Sauce sort of kicking in. You have WebDriver, you have a bunch of CI/CD tools. It creates like a lot of observability issues where you have all these tools working sort of independently of each other. And as we see, like Cypress is born, like other tools are sort of getting added to the stack. So it gets harder and harder to maintain. I think the biggest challenge, what we are hearing from our customers, is there is test automation framework is not enough. Like you can have a framework, but there's no way to unify those signals. So everything sort of just spread out across the ecosystem, and it becomes extremely challenging for folks to view what's actually happening. So what does the solution look like? This is where, like, from a product perspective, we thought about a way to create a product that sort of helps you not just running the test locally or in cloud, but also providing those signals in a centralized place. You can look up the tool. I'll show you a demo right after this. It's called Sauce Control. So it sort of moves, gives you the power to run tests at scale. And again, you can do it locally using Docker containers, or even in fact with Sauce Labs Cloud. So this is how it looks like. This is the execution machinery. So Sauce Control, you can gain access to all the tools that you need to execute the automated test written in the languages of your choice. And you have the option to execute them, as I was saying before, like either locally using Docker containers, or running them in CI and running them CI and orchestrating on Sauce Cloud. Irrespective, all the tests are posted to Sauce, where you can actually use the debugging capabilities. The interesting thing there is that all these tests are captured on the Sauce Insights platform. So you can look at different types of insights, trends, analyses of how your tests are doing. The nice thing is that we're trying to unify all the signals of all these different types of tests that are running on Sauce. That sort of provides your team with the view of how my tests are doing across these different frameworks in a single place. From a benefits perspective for Sauce Control in itself, highly scalable, again, based on the plan you have. We do have a free tier. So if you sign up, you can use Sauce Control on a free tier and try it out. You can run them concurrently to increase speed. There's flexibility. I'll show you the case for replay, which we just saw, the coffee cart example, but you can have Playwright, you can have Cypress, Test Cafe, XUI Espresso. We do support Puppeteer, but only on the Docker side. And again, like as I was saying before, you can run them locally or using Sauce infrastructure. Parallelization at scale, as I just mentioned, like scalability is key for us. We want to make sure teams can deliver fast. And that's where the parallelization kicks in. You can shard your tests. You can schedule tests in a way where they run at scale, and Sauce will sort of concurrently run these tests so you can get feedback fast. Team alignment and test insights are interesting, where now we are giving you signals across these multiple teams in a unified way. So from a user perspective, you don't have to log into different systems. You can just log into Sauce or get that data from Sauce using our APIs to view how these tests are running and how they're sort of trending. Security compliance, it's another one of those points where it comes a lot of times that you get secure connections. We have products like Sauce Connect, where you can even run your internal applications on Sauce Labs infrastructure with a peace of mind, because it's just like a port which goes through, it's a VPN, and you don't have to think twice. Like it just runs seamlessly in our infrastructure. You don't maintain any. And like the great support team which we have, so you can always reach out and ask for help, enterprise SLAs, and the teams that are helping you out day to day if you have any challenges. Okay, demo time. Let's run something. So I think things just start by installing Sauce Control. So let's see how you can do that. So here are the replay docs. You can go to Sauce Labs documentation website. This is how replay looks like on Sauce. So step one, as I was saying, is installing Sauce Control. How does that look? So based on your choice, you can do an npm install. You can do a homebrew install. You can do a curl install. You can do PowerShell. So there are multiple ways of installing source control on your machine. Once you're done installing source control, you would need an account at Sauce. Again, as I was saying before, you can have a free account. You can just sign up. You can add your credentials. This sort of provides Sauce a way to post the test results back to Sauce Labs UI. So you can view things there. As mentioned before, there is a demo repo. So we can just follow through this. So the demo repo just is a very basic template. As Jecelyn was showing, there's a way you can actually, we have the recordings in here. We have the assets in here. So you can see we have the coffee cart example, which I'll run through, but it's a JSON file. You can add any other file you want and just we'll see how it works. So let's jump in to the CLI. This sort of instantiates, like once you have source control installed, all you need to do is source control run. That starts running the source control that kicks off the test that we just saw in Sauce Cloud. So how does this all work? This works through the concept of a configuration file. So all you need is a very, very, very simple configuration file. You can specify the region, you specify the concurrency, you tell us the suite. So this is how it will be managed on Sauce UI, and the recording. So if you just did the recording, you can add those recordings. You can have multiple recordings, you can have one, but you can pass the recording to us. Let's go and see how it looks in Sauce Labs UI. Let's log in. So I just ran the test. Here it is 1 minute ago. You can jump to this coffee cart example. You can see the different things. So the nice thing here is like we capture all the artifacts. And if you folks are used to Sauce, it looks very much like Selenium. If you use Cypress or any other capabilities on Sauce, again, looks very similar. You can jump in, you can see different screens. You can see how the things are changing. You have a way to view screenshots. You can view the logs. You can download the video. So it sort of captures all the interesting data generated as part of this test run. And you can see the metadata and other stuff. So let's try it in a different way. So let's say as a user, like I want to try it out on a different configuration. I do want to specify the platform, which is Windows 11. I do want to specify a browser, and I do want to specify a version. So now you can do that with Sauce Labs. You have the capability of defining a different platform. So now let me go back to my command line and I'll run this tool. So another cool thing which you can do is not only can you actually run things directly, you can pass the configuration files through the command line. So you can say source control run the config file, and I'm just providing the path of this config file, and I'm saying like run the example1 config YAML. So if I go back to the YAML file, this is how my YAML file looks. It's going to show the source region, the concurrency, the name of the suite, the recording, platform it ran on. So now let's go in Sauce, see how this looks. So if we go back, again, like you will see, this is my suite getting some coffee using Windows 11. It looks very, very similar. We'll capture all the steps. You have the video, you have all the associated artifacts. Now, like the team goes in and the product come back and says like, oh, well, we need to also test it on cross browser. You can do that. You can even run it in parallel together. So not only can you run it on Windows, you can try it on Mac OS. Again, there are supported platforms which Sauce has, which you can read in docs, but you can select multiple different platforms and different versions of browsers. Let's say you have an issue which user ran into and you want to try it here. So let's go back. We'll instantiate this test. All we need to do is we'll do example 2 and we'll kick this test off. So again, very similar to the previous test. This test will run in cloud. Now you have 2 different suites, which you are seeing here, getting some coffee using Mac OS 12 or like on Windows 11. Once the suite is done, the test result will be posted back on your screen. So let's just scroll up. You can see the name of the test. You can see the duration it took, what's the status of it, which browser and platform it ran on. So it makes it really easy. You don't have to leave your command line to move to Sauce Labs. You can just see all the test results right on your command line. Let's go back into Sauce and see. So it's still running on Mac, but we can see quickly in Windows. It ran, and again, And we have seen before, it captures all the different statuses. The other cool thing it does create a build. So these are different ways to aggregate your runs on Sauce Labs. You can see them and you can just say like, oh, these are the jobs that are ran together on Sauce Labs. So you can sort of aggregate them and view them together on the things which you're instantiating on Sauce. Let's go back. So the last thing which I want to show you is like even more complex. So the configuration just keeps on evolving. And again, all this is in the documentation, but just as an example, now you want to add tags. You want to say like, this is my smoke test, or this is just my checkout test. You can do that with metadata. You want to add a build name, as I was showing before. You want to collect these jobs together. You can do that. The other really handy feature is, let's say you're running it through a CI, or you're running it through your local box. You can actually have all the artifacts coming back to you. So how does that look? Let's just kick off this test. We'll just run. We'll say example3.yaml, and we'll execute this test. So again, you don't have to leave your command line. You can just instantiate it from here. There's the build link. So I was showing you the jobs, but you also have a link here, which directly takes you to that build that just got executed. So if I jump to this link, it will show you a pretty neat way to like collect all the jobs that ran on Sauce and the statuses, the platform names where it ran, and the time it took. So let's go back. I'll just jump back to my command line. You can see like those are the two suites that are already running. The thing which we are looking for is, let's say as a debugging purposes, I just want to quickly get all the artifacts back to my local box. And I don't want to like log into Sauce to view things. And that's what we are looking for. Like, how can I get all the assets back? So in this case, as this is done, I can go back to my IDE, whatever IDE you use, you can see it creates an artifacts folder and it creates the suite name, and it gives you all the different associated artifacts that got generated, the config file, the logs. You can look at the replay log. You can look at the video that got generated. Again, the idea being is, if you're used to your command line, if you're used to your IDE, and you are just quickly debugging it, you can just keep on running things locally, and you don't have to leave your local box. You get all the different things, all the different assets and artifacts coming back to you from and as I was saying before, there are a lot more things you can do with configuration. You can set up Slack integration. You can do logs, which is pretty much here, like all the different capabilities which you can do. I showed you a few. If you're running this internally, we do have Sauce Connect. So you can run a tunnel and you can start it up and run test internally to your website. But yeah, so hope you enjoyed it. Let us know if you have any questions. I'll hand it back to you, Jecelyn. So stop sharing.
Oh, that's amazing. You can really do a lot, like just automate your flow and then do everything on Sauce Lab instead of in your local, run in your local, because we don't install that many of browsers in our local anyway, and we cannot tag the artifact and stuff. This is really useful, but there's more that we can offer. Drum roll, please. Okay, I will just drum roll myself. Okay, so from just now, Kunal also mentioned you might want to use the language that you are familiar with. So this is also the request that we get a lot. Probably you don't want to use the JSON, or you want to use Cypress, you want to use Test Cafe, you want to use the script that you want. Are we able to do it? The good news is, yes, you can do that. So for example, Test Cafe, in the latest release, what you can do is, after you install the Test Cafe, you can run Test Cafe and then put in the user flow .json to replay it. Let me just show you an example here. So I already have Test Cafe installed. Let me just zoom bigger. Let's see. Okay. Then from here, instead of all, so all is like running from all the browser. But in this case, I just want to run in Safari, for example. So I can say Test Cafe Safari and then pass in my user flow that I created just now. And I click enter. And it will initiate and it will open the Safari browser in my local machine. And then it will just run the test. So suddenly the test that you recorded in the Chrome recorder, you can run it in other browsers. So which is good. And the other thing you can do is for Cypress. Cypress also support exporting the user flow to Cypress script. So in this case, if you install the Cypress Chrome recorder package, then you can use this command to convert the Cypress user flow to a Cypress script. Let me show you another demo on that. So in here, I have so this is a Cypress project. So each of the Cypress project have a standard folder, have a Cypress folder. For all the end-to-end tests, it will created under this end-to-end folder. And there's a recording folder here, which I add in all my JSON user flow. So I have 2 JSON user flow here. So I already installed Cypress Chrome recorder in my local. So what I can do here is I pass npm Cypress Chrome recorder, and I pass in the whole folder. So in this case, I want to convert all the JSON recording in this folder to a Cypress script. So I click enter. And after a moment, you can see that the script show up in the end-to-end test folder. And if you click on it, the order, you can see that it convert all the steps like Cypress viewport, click on the Mocha, click on the Americano, click on the checkout. It's actually convert this step by step to a Cypress script. And then the next thing you can do is you can open Cypress, npx Cypress open. Sorry. And then click end-to-end test, initiate it. Then from here, you can pick different browser, for example, Firefox. Click start the test. And it's open up the Firefox browser. So this is the Firefox browser. And let's click on the order coffee. It will just start and replay it on your screen. So the flow that you record, you use Chrome DevTools to record the user flow. You can export it to a Cypress test script, and you can run it to in others browser of your choice. So as Kunal said just now, the language, like you are really like the language, you already have like existing test suite that you are using, existing language that you are using. So in this case, you can actually port the JSON file to Test Cafe or to Cypress to run it. Okay. Okay, and the good news is Sauce Lab actually support both as well. So you can use Sauce Lab to run the Cypress test script and to automate the Test Cafe test script. So there are documentation for that, so make sure you check that out. And this capability of exporting the JSON file to other test script is actually powered by an open source library that we built recently. It's called Puppeteer Replay. So the Puppeteer Replay library is a CLI, so you can replay the file. You can replay the file with just a line of command, or you can do customization to do more. For example, you can write your script, extend the library to capture a screenshot or integrate with third-party tools like AppTools. Or you can extend it, transform and convert your script to Cypress. So for example, Cypress is built on top of this Puppeteer Replay library, and is extend the library to transform the script into Cypress test script. So imagine in the future, someone or probably you create a library to transform the script into Selenium test script that someone can install and use it. Let me just show this. Okay. Sure. Let me just show you an example of what do I mean by customization. So so for the Puppeteer Replay library, we offer a Puppeteer Runner extension. So what you can do is you create your class of extension and extend the Puppeteer Runner extension, And there are multiple hooks that you can use. So in this case, I want to extend the after each step. So means that after you perform the each step, so I extend this step. So I wait for the actual step to happen. Then what I do next is I wait and then I add a step to capture the screenshot. So this is how I customize the script. So imagine after that you can run, you can use the Puppeteer Replay library to run the script, but also to capture the a screenshot of each of your steps. So this is how you can extend it. And the other way to extend it is the to transform it. So these are the code that is in the Cypress repository. So they extend the stringify extension, which provided by the Puppeteer Replay library, to stringify each of the steps. So they handle the step, for example, for the navigation to others page step. They actually output it, change it to the Cypress script called cy.visit. So to map it line by line. So this is how you can use the library in a short way. So you can go read the documentation. The link is in the in my presentation, which we'll share out later. Yeah, to see, I actually can't wait to see what you can build or what others build that we can install and use it. And another new features that we already added is we can install third-party extension in the recorder, so that you can export it to a custom special script. So imagine in the future, there might be an export to Cypress script selection here. Let me show you a quick demo. So let me just go to the Chrome extension. So usually what you will do is you will go to the Chrome web store and search for an extension and install it. But let's say you are the developer. Before you publish the extension, you want to test locally. So what you can do is you can toggle the developer mode and click load unpack here. And then you load your files, you load your extension. And then once you install, okay, so before that already, let me remove this extension first. And I install it again. I load unpack. Go to my document, Chrome extension, and I select it. And you can see that the custom JSON extension is installed here. Once I install the extension, I will open a new tab. Let me just click inspect. And in the recorder, let me just open a file first. And if you click download, you can see that there's a new option, export as custom JSON script. It's installed here. So in the future, currently there's no extension because we just released this feature, but I foresee that there will be a lot of extension that you can install and convert it the script right away, instead of using Puppeteer Replay. If you don't want to automate it, if you want to just run local, you can just export it. Yeah. Now I want to share about some current limitation and some of the future plan that we have. So these are the top next feature that we will receive. You want to be able to select matching the on-screen text. So instead of select the element by the selector, you want to be able to select the element by the text on screen. The team is currently working on this, and it will be available soon, probably. Yeah. And to replay, you want to be able to replay the user flow in your preferred viewport. So for example, you want to be able to choose probably the iPhone size or Pixel 5 or the size, the viewport, and you want to be able to change it and replay it. This one is on our radar. We haven't have resource to work on that yet, but probably we'll work on that soon. And we know that this is the features that you are request for. And you want to be able to skip the beginning navigation step. So now when you open the user flow, we kind of refresh the page every time and start the recording. So in some of the case, you might just want to replay the step that you want instead of refresh the whole page. So this is also on our radar. And also you want to be able to duplicate the whole recording, basically copy and paste, make copy easier for you. This is on our radar. We are thinking of what are the best experience for you to duplicate and change stuff easily. And the other one is to be able to assert the detail conveniently. just now I show you a way to assert, wait for the element, add a step to wait for the element, but we do not support more sophisticated assertion yet. Hopefully soon that we will support that. These are some of the things that we currently not supported. For example, the action of drag and drop, we currently don't support it yet. And also select a text like drag and select the whole text because it's also basically a drag. We haven't supported it yet. And also pinch and zoom, like for example, when you open a map, you want to pinch and zoom it. We haven't supported that as well. And if you are filling up a form, if you are using the Chrome autocomplete, the autofill data, if you click on the autofill data, unfortunately, we did not capture all of the autofill data. You kind of need to fill in step by step manually for us to capture it. And we did not capture the browser menu. So for example, if you right click on any page, if it's a browser menu, for example, inspect or translate the page, we did not capture that as well. Yeah, so these are the things that currently not supported, some of the limitation that we have. And the next thing that we are also working on is to be able to automate the performance measurement beyond the page load and integrate with Lighthouse. The one that I showed you just now, we integrate with the performance panel, we integrate with the performance insight panel, but probably integrate with Lighthouse, immediately show you the score would be something useful to you too. So we are currently looking into that as well. So don't stop your feedback, keep your feedback coming. We are tracking that and we are ranking your feedback, and we prioritize the development based on your feedback. So let us know what are the feedback that you have. I think that's all for today. And that's all for the presentation, not yet ended. And thanks. If you want to learn more, these are the links that you can go to. Yeah.
Okay, and let's go ahead and hop into the Q&A. It looks like we've got one from earlier at the very beginning of the call. Jecelyn and Kunal, I think you guys can see those. There's a first question about the dev tools. Do you mind taking that one, Jecelyn, from Chandra?
Yeah, I think it's Chandra asked, is there a way that we can wait for a specific element to load or explicitly wait when doing a replay features in DevTools? There are features that you can do. So for example, here, we can say we can add a step after, say wait for the element, and then you use the selector picker to pick the particular element and wait for it to show up. And if this element is an element with multiple, so for example, you want to say that there will be 9 elements, or there will be 2 of this element, you can put in a count as well to wait until the exact number of elements showing up. Then it goes to the next step. Also, if you know that this step will take longer, probably an API, you can add the timeout as we mentioned just now, set it to 20 seconds. So give it enough time to wait, then the step will just wait for 20 seconds. If it doesn't hit that, then it will throw you errors. If it's not, then it will just go to the next step and you can execute it. Okay, so I guess I answer your question, Chandra. Let me know if it's not, you can re-ask. Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you so much, Jecelyn. Looks like we've got another one from Tom. How could I export and use a script for a performance test with multiple users performing the same action?
How could you export and use the script for a performance test? So for performance test, currently just now when I show on the last, the team is currently working on being able to export the script, integrate with the Lighthouse. So in the future, there might be we are looking to probably you can export as a Puppeteer script with the Lighthouse features in it, so you can do the performance testing using the script. Else, the only thing that you can do is running the test in the browser here. So these are the current options that you have. Now, if you want to roll out your own performance test, you can export that as a Puppeteer script. And then there are some Puppeteer example on how to use the Puppeteer script to grab the performance information like the Web Vitals metrics with Puppeteer. You can export it as a Puppeteer script and write your custom script to do the performance test.
Great. Thank you so much, Jecelyn. Let's go to the one at the bottom because I know we've had that one for a while. That may have been a question during Kunal's presentation. I'm not sure, but it looks like there was a question about the element name and if that was a bug.
Yeah. Okay, let me open back the demo card. So these are the demo card just now. Also the okay, let me just replay the example here. Replay it in normal speed. So I guess the question that you asked is this double click, when I double click it and when I double click it just now. So this is the action that I recorded just now. And from here, you see that there's two different elements got captured. Why is it, or is it a bug? It is actually not a bug because when you double click here, I click somewhere here. So it's captured the demo card element as the double click. But when I click to zoom it out, I actually click on the action item here. Do you see that? So the second double click here is capture the demo card at the hash tree element, which is the action one is the hash tree here. That's why it captured two different elements. But it doesn't matter because the hash tree still belongs to the demo card here. So when you click, it's actually replaced successfully and zoom in and zoom out because it is okay. So if you think there are cases like this when the position that you click is really matters. So if you think that you doesn't like this, you can always change it to a demo card element, the one that you want. And you can also, like for example, if you don't want the first selector, you know that one selector is enough in your case, you can also delete the area selector and just use one selector. It works fine as well. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. Let's go to the question there. How do I assert on the test step?
How to assert on a test step. So currently the assertion, like I mentioned just now, is not sophisticated. We haven't built like a full suite of assertion yet, but the basic one you can do is you can wait for a certain element. You can wait for a certain element and then assert the numbers of the item or whether the item will show up or will disappear. Or you can also do, what you can do is you can also wait for the expression. So from here, you can wait for a JavaScript expression. So you can put in your document dot query selector to select a query selector to select a particular element. So basically it's writing your JavaScript, or if you have some global function, just call it and then say that it's equal to 1, probably query selector, or the list of items, let's say the total length is how many. So these are the way that currently you can do the assertion. Wait for expression and wait for element. So more sophisticated assertion is coming. So this one is not too user-friendly yet, the syntax, but we are looking for ways to working on that. But the top 6 features, we built the top 6 feature, and this is the next top 6 feature that we'll be looking into. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. And looks like we've got 2 more down here. We've got one about adding invalidations and one about Chrome version 100. So whichever you'd like to take first, Jecelyn.
Okay. Can you add in validation? For example, if the expression and then the total will be 29, you can do so. So for example, you can check the text. So from here, what you can do is you can say, wait for the expression. And let me go to the coffee card here. So let me go to the coffee example here. So what you can do here, you can use the same thing. You can use wait for the expression and then put in the selector of this total element and then dot inner text, because you want to select the inner text, to assert that the inner text is equal to total $sign $29. So this is how you can do it. But you kind of need to type the JavaScript yourself now. Yeah. But soon there will be a more sophisticated assertion available. Okay. the last question here. Chrome version 100 caused a lot of issues for some site. Would additional tools like recorder tools causing any website issues, either due to Chrome version or the site implementation? This is a hard question. So wherever we adding in new features or new, we fix some bugs, probably most of the time, like both of we are developer here, sometimes it might introduce some new bugs or something, but it's not a particular tools that causing the sites having issues. So if you have any issues, the good ways is you can click on the Chrome DevTools 3 dot here and click help. Wait, where is the report bug? Help, report the DevTools issues and let us know. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. Looks like we've got one for Kunal in there about trainings.
Yeah, happy to. Yeah, please reach out to us. You can reach out to me directly. Probably better to reach out to support first, or if you have someone like on the customer success side. If not, like I think you can definitely reach out to support and you can mention my name, that these are the challenges which we are having, and more than happy to get the conversation going. I think we just need to make sure you have the right folks from the customer success side attached to the account so we can get the conversations going. But I'm happy to come in and like we can do a demo, we can do trainings. That's all part of working with Sauce. Happy to do that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We've got a couple of minutes left here. So if anyone has any more Q&A they'd like to throw in, please do. But if not, I know Jecelyn, you had a question that you'd like people to answer in the chat.
Yeah, I would like to know. So if you have any new features, requests, you see that anything missing that I showed you just now, put it into the chat and let us know what are the new features that you would like to see in the Chrome DevTools Recorder. And I will make sure that that gets into our feature requests and we'll rank them. Yeah. You can also try it out and put your feedback in the send feedback button here in the panel.
Perfect. Yeah, we're happy to give y'all a minute or two to answer that. Oh, looks like we got another Q&A question. Great. We have a question for Kunal about using the tunnel.
It's pretty much using like any other VPN. So if you have used any VPNs, like the connection is private and secure, you can spin up a Sauce Connect tunnel and it will connect to your local infrastructure. And then it's effectively running those tests, assuming those tests are running in your local infrastructure, but they run on Sauce machines. So it's basically, again, like if you have used any VPN tool before, it's pretty similar. You just need to spin up a tunnel in Sauce Labs, associate that tunnel within the configuration file as I was showing. And once you have that, you can run your internal websites, but on Sauce's infrastructure. So we have numerous customers of ours who are using it. Again, like it has gone through multiple security checks. So again, happy to reach out if you want to open a ticket in our systems. Like we can definitely share all the different compliance that we have on how to use Sauce Connect and what are sort of the different grades of compliance that we have.
Awesome. Thanks, Kunal. Okay. About 4 minutes left. If we've got any last minute Q&As or if we want to throw any of those suggestions in the chat for Jecelyn, that would be awesome. Otherwise, of course, like she showed you, you can go ahead and send the feedback via Chrome as well. Give y'all 1 more minute and then we can wrap it up.
Yeah, also if you want to follow some latest update, you can follow Chrome DevTools Twitter account or my Twitter account, Jackfish. Yeah.
Looks like we've got another question. Does the performance tool button do the A11Y audit? Okay,
good questions. The performance tool currently doesn't do the A11Y audits because it's not part of the performance per se. But if you want to run some A11 accessibility test. One of the things that we currently support is the CSS overview panel. So if you go to more tools and go to CSS overview, you can capture an overview. It will tell you all the an overview summary of your page. So what are the colors that you are using in the page? And one of the issues is the contrast issues. So this is one of the most common accessibility issues. So you can check it here to run a page report. But on the performance panel test itself, unfortunately, it doesn't support the accessibility test.
Great. Well, on behalf of Sauce Labs and the Google Chrome Dev team, thank you so much, Jecelyn and Kunal, for y'all to present today. Thank you to everyone for being so engaged and, hopping into that Q&A. We really appreciate it. And we got some really good content today. So keep an eye out for that email in the next few days. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Bye.